Hello, everyone. Welcome to part two of our discussion this week on exegeting your community. We're talking about how we pull understanding, how we learn about and grow in understanding for our community. Everything that goes into that, the dynamics that build into what makes a group of people live together as a community. Why do people choose to live there? What's the history there? All of those things factor in to how we can minister to people with a missional mindset in the midst of a community. I promised you in the first video that I would have a special guest speaker, and I do. This is my lovely wife, Kristen. She and I, in 2013, moved from the southern part of Indiana, just across the river from Louisville, Kentucky, and moved to the south side of Chicago. Now, if you want to talk about two extremely different cultural settings, that would be a pretty good description of both ends of the spectrum. So what I've asked Kristen to talk to you a little bit about is how you can be a learner in your community. Now, if you've grown up in the community you're serving in, maybe you're in the neighborhood that you want to minister to, this is going to be a little more simple for you because you already understand some of the background. But if you're new to the community, you have to learn what it means to be a part of it. In Chicago, in particular, people are very skeptical of outsiders. Between community to community, people are even more skeptical, even if you do live in Chicago. What are you doing over here? Why are you on this side of town? Why are you in this neighborhood? And it can create all sorts of issues. So I'm going to have Kristen talk a little bit about what she did and what her experience was as a learner when we first moved to Chicago in 2013. There?
Well, ultimately, what you kind of have to understand is that if you were to move overseas, then you would automatically become a learner, right? You would try to learn the language. You would find out where to go get groceries. You would find out the best place to take your children that's safe. You would do all of those things. But since we're in America, often we just kind of assume that we can figure those things out. And we figure, well, I can read street signs, I can read a map, I know what I'm doing. And we rely on ourselves a lot to do things. And instead, when you move into a new community especially, what you really need to do is take advantage of the people around you. Pull in a few close friends, figure out a few people that you can lean on, and almost take the position as though you don't know anything. That will give you a great opportunity to create a new friendship just with asking somebody. My biggest challenges, we actually took our boys from being homeschooled and put them in public school in Chicago, which was a huge step of faith and very challenging to kind of take that step and to make that huge shift. So I was not only learning public school for the first time, but I was learning Chicago public school for the first time, and I was entirely overwhelmed. So we ended up meeting one family in particular through the baseball league that was mentioned earlier, and that mother I befriended, and the best way that we honestly didn't have much in common in any way in life. We didn't even have kids in the same grade, but she was knowledgeable about the school and how to get school supplies and where to get them and what the list meant and what wasn't important. So she became my resource for learning all of that. And that turned into a deeper friendship. We began to do things, we began to walk together, and it grew into a lot more, and I got the opportunity to try to be there and do things for her, all because I took the position of, I don't know what is expected of me here, and I could probably figure it out, or I could take this as an opportunity to build a relationship by just saying, I don't know what to do, please help me. And most people are more than willing and love to feel needed and helped. The other thing, especially with being a learner, is that when you're in a new community, you can go and you can figure things out for yourself, but you have to learn that the people there know the community the best. But they're not always just going to share something unless you ask. So you have to find opportunities and ways to put yourself out there and be outside. Like, we had to learn that we had to intentionally be outside a lot more because our neighbors were outside a lot more, and that gave us the opportunity to learn from them and ask them questions and figure out ways that we could help them and minister to them, and learn kind of the heartbeat of our neighborhood. It's a challenging thing, especially as a human being, to kind of take the position of, I don't know something, and almost pretend like you're not intelligent enough to figure it out. That for me was very difficult because I'm very self-sufficient. But it was such a learning experience to be able to step back and take that role and just really see the friendships and the relationships that grew because I was willing to do that.
Yeah, it's really interesting that she mentions how much we had to be outside intentionally in the neighborhood because during the winter months, it was extremely difficult to stay passionate, honestly, about our ministry because we were dealing with going long stretches of times without seeing people. Even our own neighbors, we would go several weeks when the brutal cold hit of the past couple of winters, everybody kind of hibernated. And it was hard to live missionally when everybody stayed inside. But if you drive around the communities, you drive around the neighborhoods of the city, a lot of times you just see people out and about. You drove down our block and you could see people simply sitting out on their front porch enjoying the sun and the warm evening and playing in the front yard or letting the dogs run around or whatever it was that they did in those evenings. Being out there and being present in that community is a big part of missional living. To go put flesh on the gospel in that neighborhood, to be seen, to be known, and to get to know people has got to be a big first step in how we live missionally in these communities. Again, post comments below. Enjoy the conversation. Let me know if you have questions, and I look forward to talking to you all week long about this topic. Have a great day.